It's more than metal. It's more than a weapon. It's a symbol. A circle of red, white, and blue, built from the rarest metal on Earth, and carried by the purest heart in the Marvel Universe. Captain America's shield is not just part of his costume. It's a promise. A promise to protect, to endure, and to never give up, no matter the cost. But what makes this shield so important? Not just to Steve Rogers, but to the entire Marvel world. Why does this single object still matter, even long after Captain America has laid it down? To understand that, we have to go back to the moment the shield was born. 1940. The world was at war, and America needed hope. In a small corner of Brooklyn, a frail young man named Steve Rogers wanted to fight. He didn't have strength. He didn't have power. But he had something better, courage. When Steve became the world's first super soldier, Dr. Erskine told him something he'd never forget. Not a perfect soldier, but a good man. And when that good man picked up his shield for the first time, something changed. It wasn't just armor. It was identity. It was belief forged in metal. The original shield was simple, a triangular badge-shaped plate made of steel. But it evolved into the circular design we know today, crafted from vibranium, the rare metal found only in Wakanda. Vibranium isn't powerful because it destroys. It's powerful because it absorbs, takes an impact and stands unbroken. Just like Steve Rogers. The shield became an extension of his soul, his moral compass made tangible. Every time it flew, it carried a message. That justice doesn't need to be loud. That strength without compassion means nothing. When Captain America entered battle, the shield wasn't just his protection. It was his voice. A silent declaration that he would stand between the world and whatever darkness tried to consume it. Whether it was Hydra, aliens, or even other heroes, Steve fought with that same ideal. You don't pick the fight to win. You pick it because it's right. But the true test of the shield didn't come from enemies. It came from time. Because the shield's meaning changed as the world changed. From World War II to the modern age, the symbol had to adapt. It had to reflect a nation that wasn't as simple as red, white, and blue anymore. And through that evolution, the shield went from being a national symbol to a human one. When Steve woke up decades later, frozen and lost in a world that had moved on, the shield became his only constant. The people, the politics, the wars, everything had changed. But that circular piece of vibranium still reminded him who he was. And more importantly, what he stood for. The shield no longer represented a country. It represented values, integrity, sacrifice, courage in the face of impossible odds. But there's a deeper reason the shield still matters, even now. Because in a world of gods, monsters, and infinite power, the shield reminds us of something more human. It reminds us that heroes aren't defined by what they can do. They're defined by what they're willing to stand for. And that's why Captain America's shield endures. Because it's not about Steve Rogers holding it. It's about the idea behind it. And one day, someone else would need to carry that idea forward. When Steve Rogers handed his shield to Sam Wilson, it wasn't just a gesture. It was a question. A question every generation has to answer. What do you believe in? For Sam, the weight of the shield was more than physical. It was emotional. It represented history, a history that didn't always include people who looked like him. He didn't see it as a gift. He saw it as a test. Could he live up to a symbol created by another man, a man from another time? And for a while he didn't think he could. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier showed that the shield was no longer just about one man's fight against evil. It became a fight for what America could mean. Because symbols are powerful, but they can also be painful. They carry the weight of the stories behind them. Steve's America was an idea. Sam's America was reality. Complex, divided, and still trying to find itself. And yet, Sam took up the shield. Not because he wanted to be Steve, but because he wanted to honor what the shield truly stood for. Not perfection, but progress. When Sam finally accepted it, when he stepped into the suit and carried the shield again, It wasn't just Captain America returning. It was evolution. It was proof that the shield doesn't belong to the past. It belongs to anyone brave enough to fight for something better. And that's what makes the shield more powerful than Mjolnir, more inspiring than any Infinity Stone. It doesn't choose based on strength. It chooses based on heart. But the shield's meaning doesn't stop with heroes. It matters to us, the audience, because in every era it reflects our world. In the 1940s, it represented patriotism. In the 2000s, it represented courage. And today, it represents unity. In a world torn by differences, it reminds us that true strength isn't domination. It's defense. The standing firm when everything else falls apart. That's why when Steve faced Thanos, and his shield broke, it felt like more than just metal shattering. It felt like hope breaking. But then, Steve stood back up. Half a shield in his hand. The entire universe against him. And he still said the words, quietly, firmly, Avengers, assemble. That moment defined the shield's true power. Not as a weapon, but as a beacon. Because even when it's broken, it still inspires. After the battle, Steve's story ended. But the shield lived on. That's the thing about symbols. They don't die. They evolve. The shield became a torch passed from one generation to another, a reminder that ideals outlive the people who carry them. Sam Wilson now holds it with new purpose. A Captain America for a world still learning, still fighting, still divided. But that's exactly when the shield matters most. Because its message isn't America is perfect. It's America can be better. The shield is hope made solid. It absorbs impact but never breaks. A perfect metaphor for what a hero should be. When Steve faced gods and monsters, the shield stood firm. When Sam faced corruption and doubt, it still stood firm. And when the world feels uncertain, that circle of red, white, and blue keeps spinning, bouncing back, defying gravity, reminding us that ideals can't be destroyed. The shield connects generations. From World War II to the modern age. From Steve Rogers to Sam Wilson. From soldiers to dreamers. It tells every person watching, you don't need powers to make a difference. You just need the courage to stand up and not back down. That's why Captain America's shield is more important than ever. Because in a world full of noise, it still speaks the loudest truth of all. That decency, courage, and compassion never go out of style. And no matter who carries it, the meaning remains the same. The shield doesn't protect power. It protects people. The circle will keep spinning. The symbol will keep standing. And as long as there's someone willing to raise it, Captain America's shield will always remind us that heroes aren't made in laboratories. They're made in moments. Moments where someone chooses to do what's right, even when the world tells them not to. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply to stand. And that's why Captain America's shield still matters.